Ever wonder why some individuals seem to attract success effortlessly? They have mastered a significant psychological technique, acting as if they have already accomplished their dreams. When you embody your successful future self by speaking, thinking, and behaving like that person would, your brain forms new neural pathways that convert possibilities into reality. The contrast is striking. If you continue to doubt yourself, opportunities will slip away unnoticed. However, if you walk, talk, and carry yourself as though you have already succeeded, you will witness the universe collaborating to make your aspirations tangible. Your future is patiently waiting. Will you embrace it now, or will you continue to practice failure? In a moment, you will discover how to cultivate the mindset and habits characteristic of successful individuals. By consistently adopting these practices, you can work toward realizing your objectives and manifesting the success you seek. The power of mental rehearsal lies within you, holding immense potential that, once harnessed, can alter the very structure of your reality. This power begins with your thoughts. Every achievement in human history was first conceived as a mental image in someone's mind before it became a physical reality. Great achievers throughout time understood this fundamental truth. You must visualize your desires in your mind before you can hold them in your hands. Engaging in what I refer to as mental rehearsal, acting as though you have already attained your goals, reinforces this reality. Your subconscious mind is unable to differentiate between a vividly imagined scenario and an actual experience. Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile barrier at a time when experts deemed it physically impossible. Prior to his historic feat, he repeatedly visualized himself breaking this barrier. He acted as if it were already feasible, mentally rehearsing the achievement until his body followed suit. You too can harness this extraordinary power. Begin each day by envisioning your objectives as already fulfilled. Embrace the emotions, envision the details, and listen for the sounds of success. When you walk, adopt the posture of the person you aspire to be. In conversation, use the language of someone who has already accomplished what you seek. Your subconscious will start to accept these new patterns as reality, tirelessly working to bring them to fruition. Have you noticed how some people appear to attract success effortlessly, while others struggle despite their efforts? The difference often lies not solely in actions, but in the unseen forces they know how to leverage. The universe operates according to fundamental laws, with the law of attraction being one of the most transformative. This law reveals that like attract the like in every aspect of our lives. Your thoughts are not mere passive reflections. They are magnetic forces emitting continuous signals that draw corresponding experiences into your existence. This isn't a mystical idea separated from reality. Rather, it is a practical application of advanced psychology and quantum principles functioning in perfect harmony. The observer effect in quantum physics illustrates that particles behave differently when observed, hinting at a profound relationship between consciousness and physical reality. When you start acting as if you have already achieved your desired outcomes, a remarkable transformation occurs. You alter your entire energetic essence. Your thoughts, words, feelings, and actions align with success rather than struggle. You begin to resonate at the frequency of accomplishment rather than longing. Consider Thomas Watson and the creation of IBM. Long before international business machines became a dominant force in computing, Watson adopted a groundbreaking philosophy. He instructed his employees to embody the identity of industry leaders before they had earned that recognition. His sales force dressed impeccably, spoke with unwavering confidence, and conducted themselves with the assuredness of giants, even while operating from modest beginnings. This approach was not pretense. It was a strategic alignment with a future reality they were determined to construct. You must understand this crucial truth. What you consistently focus on expands in your reality. This is not mere wishful thinking, but a psychological principle known as selective attention. Your reticular activating system, which filters information in your brain, seeks evidence that validates your dominant thoughts while filtering out contradictory data. If your thoughts lean towards scarcity, limitation, and impossibility, you will unconsciously seek out and discover evidence that reinforces these beliefs. Conversely, By adopting an abundant mindset and acting as though your desired outcomes are already materializing, you will shift your perception to recognize opportunities that were always present yet previously unseen by you. Start today by revolutionizing your vocabulary. Words possess vibrational frequencies that either resonate with your desires or repel them. Remove phrases that affirm limitations. Instead of saying, "I cannot afford this," assert confidently, "I am strategically allocating my resources towards my highest priorities right now." Rather than timidly wishing for positive outcomes, declare resolutely, "I am certain this will succeed because I have aligned every essential factor for its achievement." Your words genuinely shape your world, programming your subconscious mind to accept your statements as commands to be realized. Choose them with as much care as an architect selects materials for a masterpiece. This is precisely what you are doing, architecting your future reality through aligned thought, language, and action. Keep in mind that this principle operates with mathematical precision. It is not concerned with your worthiness or your past. It is solely focused on the consistent signals you transmit now. When you genuinely feel, articulate, and act as if you are already living the reality you desire, the universe must rearrange itself to correspond with this new energetic pattern you have established. Great achievers throughout history understood this principle. They did not wait for external circumstances to shift before altering their internal mindset. Instead, they reversed the formula, creating the necessary internal conditions first, knowing that the external would inevitably follow. The greatest error in the pursuit of extraordinary accomplishment is to believe that success stems primarily from what you do. The crucial truth that distinguishes those who merely attempt greatness from those who embody it is that true transformation demands more than superficial behavioral changes. It necessitates a fundamental identity shift at the core of your being. Consider the significant difference between someone who claims, "I'm trying to get in shape," versus someone who asserts, "I am an athlete." The former remains in a constant state of effort and struggle, while the latter lives authentically according to their nature. This distinction is not simply semantic. It represents entirely different operating systems within your psyche. It reflects the contrast between consistently resisting your natural tendencies and expressing your true self. A powerful example of identity-level transformation can be found in how John F. Kennedy approached the space race during the height of Cold War tension. When America lagged in space exploration, Kennedy did not hesitate or speak tentatively about the country's aspirations. He boldly stood before Congress, and later at Rice University, proclaimed with unwavering certainty, "We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard." This was not merely a goal announcement. It was an identity declaration that fundamentally reshaped how Americans viewed themselves. Kennedy did not portray the United States as a nation striving to catch up. Instead, he spoke as if reaching the moon was preordained, merely awaiting manifestation. This identity-level communication galvanized an entire nation, transforming ordinary engineers, mathematicians, and administrators into pioneers who achieved what once seemed impossible. Your current circumstances, your income, relationships, health, and achievements are not random occurrences. They are precise reflections of your existing identity. They represent the natural fruition of who you believe yourself to be at the deepest level. To create different results, you must transform into a different person. This transformation begins with a profound question: who would I be if I had already reached my highest aspirations? Be specific in your exploration. Would this future version of yourself maintain different morning rituals? Would they communicate with different vocabulary, tone, and conviction? Would their physical presence embody distinct qualities? Would they allocate their time, attention, and resources differently? Once you have clearly defined this evolved identity, begin to embody these characteristics immediately, not as an act of pretending, but as a decision to step into this new reality. This is not about waiting for external circumstances to validate your new identity. It involves reversing the conventional achievement formula, rather than believing you must first achieve success to be successful. Recognize that you must first be successful internally to manifest success externally. Your nervous system cannot continually sustain conflicting beliefs about who you are. When you consistently act as if you are already the person you aspire to become, your mind experiences cognitive dissonance, the psychological discomfort that arises from holding conflicting beliefs. To resolve this tension, your subconscious will work tirelessly to align your reality with this new self-concept. This is precisely how ordinary individuals throughout history have accomplished extraordinary feats. They did not achieve greatness and then adopt the identity of greatness. Instead, they first embraced the identity of greatness, often when all external evidence contradicted this self-perception, and their reality gradually reorganized itself to match this internal transformation. Begin today by writing a detailed description of the person you are becoming. Act, decide, and allocate resources as this person would. When faced with choices, ask yourself, what would the version of me who has already achieved my goals do in this situation? Then, act accordingly, not as a mere visualization exercise, but as an expression of who you have resolved to be. Remember that this identity shift is not about deceiving yourself. It is about acknowledging that your current identity is itself a construct, often built upon limiting beliefs and past conditioning rather than your true potential. You are not merely pretending to be someone you are not. You are choosing to become who you truly are, free from the accumulated limitations of your past. In the vast landscape of human potential, one obstacle proves to be more formidable than any external circumstance: the paralyzing fear of failure. This insidious force has derailed dreams, stifled innovations, and imprisoned potential more profoundly than any other psychological barrier. It keeps capable individuals trapped in mediocrity, constantly whispering that the risk of disappointment outweighs the possibility of achievement. Yet when examining the lives of history's greatest achievers, you will discover a fundamentally different relationship with failure. They did not succeed because they were immune to setbacks. They triumphed because they perceived these inevitable challenges through an entirely different lens. When you act as if your success is guaranteed, fear loses its grip on your decision-making. This is not blind optimism or denial of potential difficulties. It is a strategic reframing that transforms obstacles from threats into essential components of your journey toward mastery. Abraham Lincoln, before being enshrined in history, faced a path to the presidency fraught with interruptions. His journey was not paved with uninterrupted success. Rather, he encountered multiple business failures, including a bankruptcy that took him 17 years to resolve. He experienced the anguish of nervous breakdowns and the loss of the woman he loved, along with public rejection through 8 electoral defeats. Yet, through these hardships, Lincoln maintained an extraordinary demeanor, conviction, and dignity of a leader destined for greatness. He did not merely hope circumstances would align. He operated with a quiet certainty that each apparent failure was preparing him perfectly for his ultimate role. When others might have regarded defeat as a final verdict on their abilities, Lincoln viewed it as necessary education for the historic position he was eventually to fulfill. You must cultivate this same psychological resilience. Begin by asking yourself a transformative question whenever you face a challenge. How would I approach this situation if I knew with absolute certainty that my success was assured? Notice how this simple reframing immediately shifts your perspective from fear-based hesitation to confident exploration. This shift will reflect in your communication. Eliminate hesitating phrases from your vocabulary. Replace weak expressions like, "I will try," or "I hope to," with declarations of certainty such as, "I will," and "I am." Speak about your projects not as speculative endeavors, but as inevitable achievements unfolding in accordance with your plans. This is not simply semantic manipulation. It is neurological reprogramming that alters how your brain processes challenges. Proceed through life as if your success has already been inscribed in the cosmic ledger, simply awaiting your arrival at the appointed time. This perspective does not eliminate obstacles. Instead, it transforms your relationship with them. Every hiccup becomes evidence, not of your inadequacy, but confirmation that you are on the path to mastery, encountering precisely the resistance necessary to develop your capabilities. Remember that failure only becomes final when you accept it as such. Every temporary setback harbors the seed of equal or greater benefit when viewed through the lens of inevitability. What may initially appear as rejection often signifies redirection towards something more aligned with your ultimate purpose. What seems like delay frequently offers necessary preparation for sustainable success. When you operate from the belief that you cannot fail, not out of arrogance, but from a profound certainty in your ability to extract value from every experience, you naturally take bolder actions and persist through challenges that would deter others. You will find yourself attempting what others deem impossible, not because you are free from failure, but because you have redefined failure as a temporary and necessary component of your journey. The greatest accomplishments in human history were not achieved by those who evaded failure, but by those who transcended their fear of it. They understood that courage is not the absence of fear, but rather action in its presence. Start today by functioning with the unshakable conviction that your success is inevitable, and watch as obstacles that once seemed insurmountable transform into stepping stones toward your destiny. Most people greatly overestimate what they can achieve in a day, while underestimating what they can accomplish in a decade. This cognitive miscalculation causes many to pursue dramatic breakthroughs while neglecting the true engine of transformation: small, consistent actions performed daily. Your life is not primarily molded by infrequent, monumental decisions, but by the seemingly trivial choices you make every day. These accumulated choices ultimately shape your destiny. Establishing daily rituals that align with your highest aspirations is the most powerful strategy for acting as if you have already achieved your goals. These persistent practices not only prepare you for future success, but also gradually reshape your self-perception until it aligns perfectly with your desired reality. Once your self-concept is transformed, it will naturally yield behaviors consistent with this new identity, igniting a self-reinforcing cycle of achievement. Consider Vince Lombardi, who took command of the Green Bay Packers, inheriting a team that had won just a single game the previous season. Lombardi did not merely revise game strategies or acquire new players. He instituted a comprehensive system of daily practice rituals designed to condition his players to think and perform like champions, even before they had earned that title on the scoreboard. Lombardi's players practiced with a precision and intensity that exceeded league standards. They rehearsed fundamentals with relentless scrutiny when other teams became entangled in complex plays. Most importantly, they conducted themselves with the dignity and discipline of champions in every interaction, from their attire when entering the facility to how they communicated in meetings. These were not arbitrary expectations. They represented strategic identity conditioning that led to the Packers winning 5 NFL championships in 7 years. You must establish your own championship rituals with similar intentionality. Begin each day by dressing just slightly better than you need to for your current role. This simple action signals to your subconscious mind that you are advancing beyond your present circumstances. The psychological influence of enhancing your appearance extends far beyond mere outward perception. It fundamentally alters how you view yourself and, consequently, how you perform. Organize your physical surroundings, particularly your workspace, as if you already operate at your desired level of achievement. Remove clutter that indicates disorganization or mediocrity. Arrange your tools and resources with the care and precision that would characterize someone already successful in your field. Your environment perpetually communicates messages to your subconscious mind about what is possible and appropriate for someone like you. Deliberately curate the intellectual stimuli you engage with daily. Listen to conversations and immerse yourself in ideas that your future self would prioritize. This is not about passive consumption, but about strategic mental conditioning. When you continuously expose your mind to thoughts reflecting the level you aspire to attain, you will naturally begin processing information through more sophisticated mental frameworks. Conclude each day with a powerful ritual of reflection. Document your achievements not as preliminary steps toward your goals, but as representations of the person you are becoming. This subtle reframing, celebrating who you are evolving into, rather than merely what you have accomplished, accelerates your identity transformation more effectively than focusing solely on external measures. Be prepared for these rituals to initially feel uncomfortable, or even fraudulent, as if you are pretending to be someone you are not. This discomfort is not evidence of a flawed approach. It confirms that you are pushing beyond your existing identity boundaries. This discomfort zone is precisely where growth takes place. The psychological principle of cognitive dissonance ensures that your mind will seek to resolve the conflict between your current self-concept and your new behaviors. Persevere through this temporary discomfort, recognizing that each day you are literally reconditioning your nervous system to operate at a higher level. The neural pathways that initially require conscious effort to activate will grow stronger through repetition until these championship behaviors become automatic. Eventually, what once demanded deliberate practice will become second nature, and you will have successfully transformed into the person who naturally achieves what once appeared impossible. The road to extraordinary achievement is not found in infrequent heroic actions, but in everyday rituals performed with unwavering consistency and clear intention. Language is more than a simple communication tool. It is the architecture of your reality. The words you habitually use do not merely describe your world. They actively create it by shaping the neural pathways through which you interpret everything around you. When you act as if you have already fulfilled your goals, it is crucial to adopt decisive language patterns that exemplify achievement. This process begins with eliminating weak, uncertain expressions and systematically replacing them with words that embody absolute conviction and crystal clarity. History provides us with a powerful demonstration of language's transformative capacity through Winston Churchill's leadership during Britain's darkest hour. As Nazi forces swept across Europe and the British military faced catastrophic defeat at Dunkirk, the nation was on the brink of capitulation. In this moment of existential crisis, Churchill did not resort to hesitant language of hope or speculation. He did not say England would attempt to persevere or might eventually prevail. Instead, he stood before Parliament and declared with unwavering certainty, "We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills, we shall never surrender." These words were not just inspiring, they were psychological architecture that restructured the British consciousness. Churchill's decisive language forged a mental fortress that Hitler's armies, despite their superior position, could not breach. Through the alchemical power of language, an objectively desperate situation was reshaped into a narrative of inevitable triumph against transient adversity. You must also remain vigilant about your language patterns as you pursue your aspirations. Begin by conducting a thorough audit of how you typically communicate. Identify and systematically eliminate phrases that exhibit uncertainty or hesitation. Terms like, "I hope," "I will try," "maybe," "I should," and "I might" should be replaced with declarations of absolute certainty. "I am," "I will," "I know," "I choose," "I create." Consider the significant neurological difference between the statement, "I hope to close that major account this quarter," and "I will close that major account this quarter." The former subtly programs your nervous system for possible disappointment, while the latter engages entirely different neural circuits linked to certainty, focus, and resourcefulness. This is not merely semantic manipulation. It is strategic neurological programming. Pay particular attention to the questions you routinely ask yourself, especially when facing challenges. Questions represent one of the most powerful forms of language, as they instantly direct your mental focus and determine the quality of your thinking. The human brain is fundamentally a solution-seeking mechanism, diligently finding answers to whatever questions you pose, regardless of whether those questions serve or sabotage your goals. Instead of asking disempowering questions like, "Why is this happening to me?" or "Why is this so challenging?" train yourself to pose questions that assume success and spark creativity, such as, "How can I use this situation to my advantage?" or "What is the most effective approach here?" Replace "What if I fail?" with "How specifically will I succeed?" Notice how these alternative questions redirect your focus from problems to solutions, from obstacles to opportunities. Language is not simply the way you communicate with others. It is the programming code of your subconscious mind. Every word you speak is a direct command to your nervous system, instructing it on how to interpret and respond to your environment. When you consistently employ the language of achievement, you systematically install success patterns that eventually become your default operating system. Start today by becoming acutely aware of your linguistic choices. Attentively monitor your internal dialogue and external communication. When you catch yourself using language that contradicts your highest aspirations, immediately reframe your statement using the decisive language of achievement. This practice may feel artificial at first, but through consistent repetition, these empowering language patterns will become your automatic responses. Remember that words create worlds. Choose yours as if you have already become the individual you wish to be, and watch as your reality gradually reorganizes itself to align with the powerful declarations you have made. In your journey toward extraordinary achievement, you encounter a potent yet often overlooked influence: your environment. Just as water flows downhill, human behavior naturally follows the path of least resistance established by our surroundings. The people, places, information, and objects that make up your daily experience either reinforce your highest aspirations or subtly undermine them with constant contradictions. When you act as if you have already achieved your goals, you need to consciously create an environment that authenticates and reinforces this new identity, rather than contradicting it at every turn. Few individuals grasp this principle more profoundly than Andrew Carnegie, who rose from impoverished immigrant to the wealthiest man in the world. When asked about the secret to his unparalleled success, Carnegie did not attribute it solely to his business acumen or work ethic. He pointed to what he called the mastermind principle, the deliberate practice of surrounding himself with minds more brilliant than his own in various specialized fields. Carnegie recognized that his personal limitations could be surpassed through the careful cultivation of his human environment. The most remarkable aspect of Carnegie's philosophy was not that he ultimately surrounded himself with exceptional intellect after achieving success. It was that he began forming these alliances while still striving for his goals. Long before he amassed his fortune, Carnegie sought relationships with individuals who thought, spoke, and operated at levels he aspired to reach. He understood that environmental elevation must precede, not follow, personal elevation. You must also be intentional about curating your human environment. Start by assessing the 5 individuals you associate with most, the people you spend the most time with. Their collective attitudes, beliefs, and accomplishments establish an unconscious standard toward which your mind naturally gravitates. If these individuals are not operating at the level you aim to achieve, strategically broaden your social circle. Seek mentors who have already accomplished what you desire. Join organizations and communities where your goals are considered the norm rather than the exception. Immerse yourself in the biographies and teachings of individuals who have overcome challenges similar to your own. These environmental upgrades are not about rejecting existing relationships, but strategically expanding your circles of influence. When necessary, lovingly and firmly distance yourself from individuals who habitually doubt your vision or reinforce limiting beliefs about what is possible for you. This is not about superiority or judgment, but rather a matter of psychological self-preservation. Just as you would not expect a plant to flourish in toxic soil, you cannot reasonably anticipate your aspirations to thrive in an environment that constantly undermines them. Your physical environment is equally significant in this transformation. Your workspace, transportation, clothing, and tools continuously convey messages to your subconscious mind about who you are and what you deserve. Organize your workspace with the order and sophistication expected from someone already operating at your desired level of achievement. Dress in a manner that reflects your aspirations rather than merely meeting the minimal standards for your current position. Invest in high-quality tools and resources that your future self would naturally employ. These environmental adjustments may initially feel presumptuous or artificial, as if you are getting ahead of yourself. However, this discomfort signals that you are effectively challenging your existing identity, rather than staying within familiar boundaries. Each environmental upgrade acts as a powerful pattern interrupt, disrupting the habitual thoughts and behaviors that keep you anchored to your current reality. Remember that human consciousness inevitably gravitates toward its dominant thoughts. By consciously surrounding yourself with objects, information, and the embodiments of success, you ensure that your dominant thoughts remain centered on achievement rather than limitation. Your environment becomes a continuous reinforcement mechanism for your new identity, providing thousands of subtle affirmations each day that you are evolving into the person you have chosen to become. Begin by identifying one aspect of your environment, either human or physical, that contradicts the identity you are nurturing. Develop a specific plan to enhance this environmental element within the next 7 days. This single adjustment will trigger a cascade of positive changes throughout your experience. The principle of taking bold, inspired action necessitates more than just mental rehearsal. It requires decisive movement in the real world. Many misinterpret this concept to mean that visualizing alone will manifest desires. This fundamental misunderstanding blocks countless aspirations. The authentic embodiment of success requires bold action grounded in absolute certainty rather than desperate grasping. This subtle difference revolutionizes not only what you do, but how you do it, converting ordinary tasks into magnetic forces that attract extraordinary results. Look closely at how Ray Kroc transformed the restaurant industry through McDonald's. When he discovered the efficient restaurant model of the McDonald brothers in San Bernardino, California, he was not yet the titan of industry that history remembers. He was a 52-year-old milkshake machine salesman burdened with health issues and financial struggles. Yet, Kroc distinguished himself from countless other ambitious souls through his operational mindset. From the outset of his interactions with potential partners and investors, he conducted himself with the strategic vision and unwavering confidence of someone already presiding over a global empire, not a struggling salesperson pursuing one last opportunity. While negotiating franchise agreements, securing locations, and establishing operational standards, he exuded absolute certainty regarding McDonald's inevitable dominance. His decisions, communications, and priorities reflected not his present reality, but the future reality he mentally claimed. This was not delusional thinking. It was strategic embodiment that magnetized opportunities unavailable to others. Implement this transformative approach by identifying specific actions that your successful future self would execute routinely. Create a detailed profile of this evolved version of yourself. What time would they rise each morning? How would they organize their calendar? What standards would govern their professional interactions? What investments of time, energy, and resources would they deem non-negotiable? Now, collapse time by implementing these actions immediately, not gradually or incrementally, but with decisive commitment. If your future self would initiate conversations with 5 potential clients before breakfast, begin this practice tomorrow. If your successful self would allocate 10% of income towards strategic investments, reconfigure your finances with your next paycheck. If your evolved self would delegate administrative tasks to concentrate exclusively on high-leverage activities, reshape your workflow right away. The key distinction lies not in the actions themselves, but in the mindset from which they originate. When executed from uncertainty or desperation, the energy of attempting to achieve future success, these identical behaviors yield minimal results. When performed from unshakable confidence, the energy of already being the person who naturally achieves these outcomes, these same actions become imbued with magnetic power. This energetic distinction may not be discernible through conscious observation, yet it is immediately recognizable to the subconscious mind. When you approach opportunities with certainty rather than neediness, people respond differently to identical offers. Doors open that previously remained closed, and resources emerge that were once inaccessible. Your certainty creates a resonant field that others instinctively trust and align with. Psychological research corroborates this phenomenon through studies on confidence and interpersonal influence. When individuals operate from genuine certainty, distinct from arrogance, their communication patterns, micro-expressions, and physiological signals convey congruence that others subconsciously recognize as trustworthiness and competence. To implement this principle, conduct a thorough audit of any areas where your actions contradict your aspirations. Are you postponing behaviors that your successful self would consider fundamental? Are you tolerating standards your evolved self would find unacceptable? These incongruences create energetic dissonance that obstructs the manifestation of your desired outcomes. Eliminate this dissonance by immediately aligning your external actions with your internal vision. This synchronization generates momentum through a self-reinforcing cycle. Aligned actions bolster internal certainty, enhancing the magnetic quality of subsequent actions, thus attracting even greater opportunities to you. Remember that certainty is not manufactured through affirmations, but cultivated through congruent action. Every time you act in alignment with your highest vision, especially when external circumstances do not yet support that vision, you fortify the neurological pathways of certainty. Over time, what began as deliberate embodiment will transform into your natural operating system. Start today by identifying and executing one significant action that your successful future self would view as non-negotiable, regardless of external approval or immediate results. This single alignment will initiate a transformation in your energetic signature, unveiling pathways to achievements that previously felt out of reach. At the core of acting as if you have already achieved your goals lies unwavering belief, not just intellectual agreement, but a profound conviction that transcends circumstantial evidence. This belief serves as the foundation upon which all other success principles rest. Henry Ford revolutionized manufacturing with the assembly line when experts asserted it could not be done. His famous quote, "Whether you think you can or think you cannot, you are right," was not just a clever saying. It was the driving principle that enabled him to transform an industry. He believed in his vision so intensely that temporary setbacks could not shake his resolve. You must cultivate an equally unshakable belief in your own vision. Begin by gathering evidence to support your belief rather than contradicting it. Document your small achievements, study individuals who have triumphed over similar challenges, and practice gratitude for your progress rather than frustration with the gap between your current reality and your aspirations. When doubt inevitably arises, recognize it as merely a thought pattern, not a true assessment of your potential. Challenge limiting beliefs with inquiries such as, "Says who?" "What if the opposite were true?" And "What evidence might I be ignoring?" Understand that belief is ultimately a choice, the most significant choice you will ever make. Choose to believe in your capacity to achieve your desires, and watch as your reality gradually reorganizes itself around this conviction. The mind does not differentiate between actual experiences and vividly imagined ones, which is why visualization is so powerful. It creates neural pathways identical to those formed through physical practice. When you act as if your goal is already achieved, you essentially reprogram your subconscious mind to accept this new reality as true. Olympic athletes mentally rehearse their perfect performances thousands of times before competition. By the time they step onto the field or court, their nervous systems have already experienced success repeatedly. Their performances are an expression of what they have already accomplished in their minds. This principle applies equally to business, relationships, health, and personal development. An entrepreneur who perceives their company's success as inevitable operates differently than one burdened by doubt. They make bolder decisions, attract stronger talent, and persist through challenges that would derail the uncertain. Your conviction creates ripple effects beyond your conscious awareness. People sense it in your demeanor, tone, and decision-making. They respond differently to certainty compared to hesitation. Opportunities present themselves more readily to those who expect success, while doors open that remain closed to the skeptical. However, this is not mere magical thinking. Acting as if necessitates tangible action aligned with your belief. It means preparing for the promotion before it is offered, investing in skills for the business you have yet to start, and treating your body with the respect accorded to the health you desire rather than the health you currently have. The gap between your present circumstances and your vision may seem vast at times. During these moments, return to your foundation of belief. And ask yourself what someone who has already achieved your goal would do in your situation. Then do that thing, no matter how uncomfortable it might feel. Maintain this practice even when evidence contradicts your vision. The universe often tests your resolve before yielding rewards. Those who abandon their beliefs at the first sign of resistance may never discover what might have awaited their persistence. Remember that all great achievements once began as impossibilities. The 4-minute mile was considered physically unfeasible until Roger Bannister broke it in 1954. Shortly thereafter, others followed. The barrier was not physical, it was psychological. Your limiting beliefs are equally artificial, existing solely because you have accepted them as truth. Question them relentlessly. Intentionally replace them with beliefs that serve your highest aspirations. Start today. Act as if your success is assured. Speak, think, decide, and move as if you have already become the person you strive to be. In due course, you may realize that you are no longer pretending. Walt Disney would wander through the orange groves of Anaheim, vividly describing the magical kingdom he envisioned in his mind. He expressed gratitude for this vision, as if Disneyland already existed long before construction began. This practice sustained him through countless rejections and setbacks. You must cultivate this same capacity for future-focused gratitude. End each day by noting 3 specific things for which you are grateful about your goals. Not as things you hope to achieve, but as accomplishments already realized. Feel the emotions these achievements would evoke. Express gratitude for the person you are becoming throughout this journey, as well as for the obstacles that are fortifying your character. This practice serves numerous purposes. It programs your reticular activating system, the part of your brain that filters information to detect opportunities aligned with your vision. It generates the positive emotions that research shows are prerequisites for peak performance. Most importantly, it bridges the gap between your present and future selves, allowing you to draw strength and insight from the person you are becoming. Remember that gratitude is the antidote to fear, scarcity, and doubt, emotions that often hinder people from acting as if their dreams have already materialized. By living in gratitude for your upcoming successes, you create an emotional environment where your highest aspirations can take root and flourish. When you express gratitude for something that has yet to come to fruition, you align your subconscious with your conscious desires. This alignment is crucial because your subconscious largely determines your habitual behaviors, emotional reactions, and intuitive decisions, the very elements that ultimately dictate your success. The most accomplished people throughout history have practiced this principle instinctively. Muhammad Ali declared himself the greatest long before anyone else acknowledged it. This principle applies equally well for personal and professional objectives. An entrepreneur expresses thanks for loyal customers before making that initial sale, while an artist appreciates their gallery showing before completing their collection. Begin modestly by selecting one area in which you seek transformation. Each morning, visualize this change as if it were already complete. Express specific, detailed gratitude for this new reality, and notice how it feels in your body. Carry this feeling with you throughout the day. When obstacles arise, and they will, return to this practice. Ask yourself how your future self would navigate this challenge. Express gratitude for the lesson and the opportunity to grow stronger. This shift in perspective can transform what might have been defeat into a stepping stone. Consistency is more vital than duration. 3 minutes of focused, emotion-rich gratitude each day will yield greater results than sporadic longer sessions. Create triggers that prompt you to practice gratitude, such as upon waking, before meals, or as you prepare for sleep. Your future is created twice, first in your imagination, then in reality. Future-focused gratitude ensures that the blueprint remains vivid and emotionally engaging. Practice it diligently and observe as your external world gradually aligns with your internal vision.